Hey, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been feeling like your brand needs a little love, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have just the tool you need. The Standout Brand Audit Bot is an AI-powered guided audit that shows you exactly what's working, what's not, and how to strengthen your brand using my proven Standout brand system. In 10 minutes or less, you'll walk away with clear next steps to move your brand forward with purpose. It's completely free. Just head to the show notes to grab the link and get started. I am officially claiming 2026 as the year of the pivot. I myself am making some big pivots in my business. I talked earlier on the podcast about letting go of my business coach and kind of flying solo for this year, making some big, exciting new investments, and also really stepping into being a strategy first agency and owning that role. So those are some of my big pivots, but I have seen some crazy stuff that people are changing in their business on threads and networking groups I'm in all over the place on the internet this year. And I wanted to talk about some of that. So I invited 3 of my friends and fellow online business owners, Laurie McPherson, Haley Johnson, and Erin Perkins, to share with us a big pivot they're making in 2026, and then talk a little bit about how brand strategy plays into that and what success would look like for them in that pivot. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of 2, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. First, we're going to hear from Laurie. Laurie is a LinkedIn strategist, and her big pivot is all around how she's marketing her business. So let's see what she had to say.
Hi, I'm Laurie, and I'm a career and LinkedIn mentor. And one of the pivots I've been making in my business in 2026 is that I'm stopping using Facebook for business and starting to use Threads instead. I've used my Facebook page for many years, but if I'm honest, it's always been my least favorite platform. I'm a LinkedIn gal, hence the work that I do, and I also enjoy using Instagram. Facebook was always my third platform, and it really has become a broadcast channel in recent years. And the result of that is that there's no engagement on there, and it's no longer serving me in my business. So making the decision to stop using it felt like a massive relief, and I'm actually really enjoying the quick and unfiltered nature of Threads already.
Okay, so this is a pivot I am 200% in support of. I've had a Facebook business page for years and years and years. When I first started freelancing, that's how I built my entire business, was in Facebook groups. But I think exactly like Laurie said, Facebook's just not the place to be anymore. I don't think we're seeing engagement on there. I don't think people are hiring from there. And frankly, it feels like a waste of time for a lot of business owners. Conversely, Threads is popping off all the time. People are having really candid conversations in there. They're hiring from Threads and really growing their audiences by using Threads as a visibility and lead gen platform. So love this for you, Laurie. Can't wait to hear how it goes. My next question for her was, okay, so you're shifting your marketing strategy. How does brand strategy play into that, if at all? So here's her answer.
One of the reasons I'm making this change is because my brand strategy has changed. I focused on careers only until the back end of 2023, and now I'm focusing on LinkedIn too, and have a successful group program which supports business owners to get to grips with LinkedIn. And Threads is a much better place to talk to business owners directly now than Facebook appears to be.
So not super surprising to hear that this has been driven by a shift in her business, which should always lead to at least a reevaluation of your brand strategy. We changed some of her offers, which means her marketing strategy needed to change, and she needed to take a second look at her brand strategy. So it makes me super happy to hear that she did exactly that. So to wrap us up, let's hear from Laurie on what success would look like with this new pivot in 2026 so that we can cheer her on and send her some good energy.
Best case scenario is that the LinkedIn work will end up being half of my income next year. At the moment, it's about 30%, with careers still being 70%. And I would love to see that go to 50-50 in terms of evolving my business and the work that I do.
Amazing. Well, I love that for you, Laurie. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone who needs LinkedIn support, please reach out to Laurie. Her links will be, of course, in the show notes. And let's move on to our next big pivot in 2026. So next, we're going to hear from my friend Haley Johnson. Haley and I have been connected for a while now. I knew her when she was running her copywriting agency, and she has since made some big pivots and is now going to make some more big pivots in 2026. So let's hear what that's going to look like.
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm a copywriter and quiz strategist in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And the big pivot that I'm making in 2026 is really kind of taking my business back to being about me and the work that I want to do and the structure that actually makes sense for my life today. I didn't come to it on purpose. I reached a point last year when I was feeling really burnt out, and I got this amazing full-time job opportunity. And I took it and I essentially closed my business. I got rid of all of my clients. I let my team go. And shortly after that, I was let go. So I had been kind of slapped in the face with this, like, big companies don't care about you reality check. And as someone who had been maybe trying to grow a big company, I didn't feel seen or like that experience would reflect what I was trying to like put out into the world. And I felt the pressure to do right by my team as a aspiring big employer, combined with that terrible experience that I had working with a big employer who on the surface had those same like aspirations and goals of doing right by their team and leading with their values and all of that stuff. Like being on the other side of it and realizing that some of that was just all talk kind of messed me up a little bit. And so when I was let go from that job and had to turn back to business because I've only ever worked for myself, I realized I needed to be in business for me and obviously serve my clients, but that my priority couldn't be creating a great company culture just because I felt like other people weren't. I really had to be creating a good environment and setup for myself.
Oof, man, there's a lot to unpack here. I could talk forever about one of the points Haley made about corporations say they care about you, but they don't. 100% agree with that. I'm so sad that Haley had to have that experience, but I think it served as a really good awakening for her of how does she want to spend her time? What type of clients does she want to serve? Where has maybe her business gotten off track and she started to second guess herself? So I think this is a really, really good lesson for all of us that one, lots of us get burnt out and feel like we want to apply for full-time jobs, and maybe that is not always the right answer. And two, that it's okay to shift and try something and fail and then try something new again. So when I asked Haley, how did her brand strategy play into this? She had a super interesting answer that I'm really excited for you guys to hear.
Brand strategy kind of played a role in that because I've been resting on my laurels for a little bit with my brand strategy. You know, I came up with it when I was like 23 and I had my mission, my vision, my values, my purpose, and it was all great. But I'm 30 now. I'm not the same person I was when I came up with that brand strategy. And I think that I'd been clinging on to it for so long because I wanted that to be what I represented to the world and to my clients, but I really needed to take a step back and reevaluate, like, is my brand strategy serving me or does it just look good on paper? And so now I'm kind of shifting my purpose, my mission, my vision, my values, and like being a little bit more selfish with them. You know, I have a background in trauma-informed marketing. I really care about, you know, honesty, transparency, respect, consent, all of those things. And I had them woven so strongly throughout the core identity of my brand and like who I was as a person that I kind of forgot, like, what are my values? Like, what do I care about? What gets me excited to work every day? And I needed to kind of reevaluate and reassess, like, it doesn't have to be like everything for the greater good. Sometimes I can just say I'm inspired by curiosity and I want to go places that feel exciting and curious for me, or I am inquisitive and I want to like dig into things, or I want to just feel excited about the work that I do. And I can know that that will have a good end result because I obviously care about doing good for others and having a positive impact, but I don't need to be so like upfront about those things because they're so tied into who I am as a person.
So as you can probably tell, Haley is very well informed about brand strategy, being a copywriter and an expert in the marketing field herself. And I was a little bit surprised to hear her answer just because I think that we assume that people who are marketing experts have it all together and that they don't fall into some of these like pitfalls that some of the rest of us do. And I love that Haley was so transparent in saying, no, yes, we do. Her point of I had outgrown my brand strategy, but I was still clinging to it like a life raft because I felt like that's what I said I was when I started my business. And so that's what I needed to continue to be is going to be so relatable for I know so many of you. Your brand strategy and your visuals and your marketing and your offers and all the things, but especially your brand strategy should evolve as your business evolves. And Haley's point of I created my brand strategy when I was 23. I'm 30. I'm a different person now is normal. You grow and you learn and you change and your brand strategy should grow and change with you. So if it has been 7 years or 5 years or even 2 or 3 years since you've taken another look at your brand strategy, let Haley's story be a lesson to you that you should always be checking in and reevaluating. And you probably don't need to burn it all down and start over, but there are likely some little tweaks and shifts that need to be made to make sure that you are still in alignment with who you are and where you want to go today and not who you were and where you wanted to go when you were 23 years old. So my final question for Haley, as with everyone, was what does success look like for you with this new pivot? Let's hear what she had to say so that we can send her a little encouragement.
Best case scenario result from this pivot is that in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, I'm not sitting there burnt out on my business, ready to jump on whatever job opportunity is thrown my way. I'm doing work that I love with clients that I love and building a life that I actually want to live. And so it's less about changing my brand strategy and more about speaking the brand strategy that I've been living in my business kind of into existence. And it feels very counterintuitive and it feels very kind of selfish, but I'm allowed to be selfish. So many people and businesses out there are selfish with literally no concern for the people who work for them or the people that they serve. So I can be a little bit selfish and still care about people and those things.
I loved Haley's point here about that it's okay to be selfish. And it is. I think as women, me as a mom, as a military spouse, I know Haley has other things in her life that I'm sure make her feel this way. We think that we need to put ourselves last and our client should always come first and our family should come first and this other person should come first and we should come last. And if we put ourselves first, we're being selfish. And that is so not true. You do your best work. You show up as your best self and you make the biggest impact on the world when you are a little bit selfish. So I love that for Haley. I know that in 5 years, when she comes back and listens to this episode, she's going to say, oh my gosh, I am living a life that I love, working with clients I love, doing work that I love. So I'm super excited for her to step into this next role. And thank you so much, Haley, for being so open and transparent about a topic that I think a lot of us might not want to pull back the curtain on. So I really appreciate that. If you want to connect with Haley, her info is going to be in the show notes. All right. And our last pivot that we're going to talk about is my friend Erin Perkins. Erin is an accessibility expert. She is so knowledgeable on the topic of accessibility and online business. She has actually come into the Six Figure Brand Society in 2024 and gave us a killer training. So if you are curious about Six Figure Brand Society and you want to catch that training, check it out in the show notes. I'll put a link to join with a little coupon code. But Erin's pivot is a big, scary one that I'm excited to see where it goes. I know she's going to be successful, but to be honest, if I were her, I would be pretty terrified. So let's hear it.
So in 2026, I'm actually making a pretty big pivot. I'm moving from being primarily service-based into building a tech company. Now, this was not like a clear linear decision. It wasn't even on my radar for 2025. It was really a very slow build with lots of small moments that really just started stacking on top of each other. It really started with a disagreement that I had with someone about accessibility artists and what they're really good at and what people do or don't want to do. At the same time, someone emailed out about micro tool. And then I ended up at an AI summit. None of these things really did it by itself, but they got my brain going. I started playing around with building a custom GPT for accessibility. Then when I was working with one of my clients, I was on this new website platform. And I was like, wow, I do accessibility for a living. I still can't remember where I need to check. That really set some alarm bells off for me. I ended up talking to a developer who originally told me that this was a terrible idea what I wanted to build. That stuck so bad. That was something that I was very much like, just watch me. And then it forced me to get clear about what I really wanted to build. And that's really how Successful came to me. And that's how I'm ending up being a tech company. And I know what it's like to be a creator, a designer. And I'm somebody that always wanted to do things right. And I am just building it for us.
Building a tech company is a crazy goal, and in the best way, I mean that. But I just could not imagine. And I know that Erin is so passionate about what she does and so great at it that I'm so excited to see how transitioning from done-for-you services into a tech company is going to allow her to have so much more impact and also make accessibility so much easier on us as designers and creators and online business owners. I asked Erin, how does brand strategy play into that? And her answer was a lot different from the last two answers that we heard. So let's take a listen at what she had to say.
So when I'm thinking about brand strategy, my mission has not changed at all. It is more about accessibility should always have been easy. And it has never been easy. And that's really what has always blown my mind with that. But what has changed about how I'm doing things and how I'm presenting it, and how accessibility is not something that's going to be to the fact after you build a website, after the content is published. Accessible is going to bring it in the moment of creation, and that's how I'm building it. My ideal client is still very value-based, but they love a good tool. They want things to fit in how they work. That's how we are building this thing. We want it to fit in where they work. And so it's really the same mission, but it's more scalable.
So we heard from Laurie that her brand strategy kind of had shifted, and that's why she made this pivot in her business. We heard from Haley that her brand strategy had not shifted and should have, which is part of why she made this change in her business. And Erin's answer is pretty different from both of those. She, to paraphrase, said, my brand strategy didn't change, but the impact that I want to have did. And this is a way for me to drive forward that strategy and have a bigger impact. And this new tech software, Accessible, is how she can have that bigger impact and bring her brand strategy that is still very much true to who she is and what she wants to do to life on an even bigger scale. So I think that's a good lesson in that sometimes we build our strategy or we define our brand strategy and we think, okay, I'm going to get to it one way. I'm going to get to my goals one way, or I'm going to have the impact I want to have in this one way. And it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes you can make a big pivot and go down a completely different road to have that same impact on maybe even a bigger scale. And Erin is such a great example of being bold and brave and fearless in doing that. So you already know, I asked Erin, what does success with Accessible look like? And I love, again, her big, bold answer.
So best case for Accessible and the result of my going from service-based to tech company, and we become a 7-figure company. Now, I've never even hit 6 figures at a service-based business. So if I can make Accessible as easy as spell check, and it's gonna help creators, business owners really do something while they create, it's gonna be part of how you build. It's gonna be a game changer. It's gonna be a huge impact on how people create, and that's really my goal. 7 figures.
7 figures. Can you imagine? I know she's going to get there. I'm so excited for her. And when you are seeing Accessible all over the App Store and all over the internet, now you get to say, hey, I knew her and I heard from Erin whenever Accessible was in its infancy. So to wrap us all up, thank you so much to our 3 guests for being so open and sharing a big pivot they're making in 2026. I know it can be a scary thing to talk about because in the back of our head, we're all saying, well, what if it doesn't work? And then I have to backpedal and be like, oh, just kidding. And I think there's really something to be said for building in public, right? Like being transparent about, hey, I'm doing this thing, I'm changing something. I don't know if it's going to work, but I hope so. I think that we need to hear more of that from other people to encourage us to also do the same. So I love that. I also really enjoyed hearing how brand strategy played into each of their pivots in such different ways. And it's such a testament to how brand strategy is woven into every single piece and part of your business. You cannot separate the two. And that's why it's so important to have a defined brand strategy, but to also be constantly reevaluating your brand strategy to make sure that it's still going to take you to where you want to go. So thanks for listening to this episode. Everyone's contact info will be on the show notes. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to connect with all three of them. Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.